Hey everybody, welcome into this week's episode of Tony's Spot on Fishing. I'm your host, Tony Krizek, and today we're in Aurora, Illinois at a little hidden gem here, part of Oakhurst Forest Preserve. It's Lake Patterson. Now we had filmed Lake Patterson about 2 years ago, and things have changed out here. Some of the mats have come down. It's not as thick as it used to be. Still got plenty of pads to fish though too. So we're going to show you all the new tips, tricks, and techniques on how we catch fish on Lake Patterson and Oakhurst Forest Preserve. That's all this week on Tony's Spot on Fishing. Yes. Oh. Come here. Oh yeah. Whoop. Stay hooked, stay hooked. Goodness gracious. Oh man, beautiful largemouth here on Jericho. Like I said, folks, we've been pitching so many different baits to these fish. Little guy. Oh. Well, that is a tiny guy, is what that is. Not necessarily what I was expecting for the first fish of the morning, but a good sign that natural reproduction is going on here in Patterson. We'll get him back. Now we're gonna get bigger fish than that. Don't worry about that, folks. But what we're doing is we're actually throwing a spinnerbait around right now. Early in the morning, we got a little bit of sun already peeking over the trees, hence why I'm not really going to a topwater right off the bat. Where these real thick carpeted mats used to be out here, we now have good submerged vegetation. So one of the best baits we can run over that is a spinnerbait. Now out here on Patterson, we do something a little bit different with a spinnerbait. We're actually running from Strike King, their tournament series, the KVD tournament series. Actually, they're 5/16 ounce. Now what we're doing that's a little bit different is we're changing out the front blade. It's a real small willow leaf, and we're actually going to upsize it a little bit so we get a little more flash and even a little more vibration. Willow leaves don't give off as much as a Colorado, but you get a little more thump, a lot more flash, but still that compact profile of that bait. And that's the kind of spinnerbaits we like to throw out here on Patterson. So now, as we mentioned, these big grass mats that are over open water just aren't really here right now. As far as the carpets go, where it almost looks like you can get out of the boat and walk on it, there's still good vegetation out over open water. And these flats sit in about 7 feet of water or so, 6 feet. And then there's also a channel that runs on the opposite shoreline of me where you actually get about 8-9 feet, and that's pretty clear sailing. Now what we do when we come down that shoreline, we can throw spinnerbaits across the flat. When we come across the shoreline opposite the boat ramp, we start encountering more of the big lily pad fields. Now what's nice is we can do a 1-2 punch through this section. I can take my frog, my heavy frogging gear, because it is thick. Thick pads, we need the full-fledged frog rods and reels, 50-pound braid, a true heavy action rod, extra heavy, so we can rip these fish right out of here. So I can take this, throw that up on the pads, and pull fish off that way, and as I'm working my way back, I can still take a spinnerbait and fan cast over these submerged vegetation, the milfoil and things of that nature. So that's the one nice thing, we can kind of keep moving and find active fish. A lot of times, Patterson's been known for its finesse type presentations, which definitely does work. They love Senkos, almost dead sticking a Senko out here. But you can still catch these fish, what we call power fishing, where we're moving constantly, throwing all these moving baits. And that's my favorite style of fishing out here, is to just get them up on a moving bait bite, be it a frog or a spinnerbait. Get out of them weeds there, girl. All right. I'll tell you what, I had to kind of call an audible. As much as I love throwing these spinnerbaits, these fish were just not reacting to it at all. And the main reason, come on, give me my hook back. Got her hooked right in the top of the mouth there. Come on. Give me my hook back. You know what we're going to do? We're going to make this real easy. I'm just going to go ahead and snip the line. And then, rather than put this fish through any more stress, we can just slide the hook out like so. Well, there we go, a nice little chunker for Patterson here. We'll go ahead and get her back. And we've had a little bit more interesting weather. Why does it seem like every episode I'm always talking about weather this year? Well, it's because the weather is playing a huge factor. We've had, a long string of days with real hot weather. And now we've got a minor cold front. And I say minor because the high today is only going to be about 81 or so. And here we are, the first part of August, while we're filming this episode. Well, this evening, or last night I should say, we ended up getting temps down into the low 60s, right at about the 60-degree mark. We got out here this morning, the water's steaming, drastic change in temperatures. So once again, it kind of forces our hand to change our strategies as far as those old run and gun tactics may not be the best bet. So versatility, dealing with Mother Nature here around Chicagoland, is the ticket. And basically the only way we were able to catch that fish is by going to a Senko. And we're going to show you here in just a second how exactly we're setting this up, because it's a little bit different than how we do it on any other body of water. So the first thing we're going to do, we got a little, really teeny-tiny 1/32 ounce free sliding bullet weight. We're going to go ahead, slide that on our line first. The knot I like to run when I'm fishing plastics, or pretty much anything for that matter, is the polymer knot. Let's go over that knot real quick. We bring the line through. We come right back through the eyelet where we just came from. So all we're essentially doing is doubling our line. We're going to make an overhand knot, just like when we were tying our shoes. But rather than tighten it down all the way, because that line's doubled, we got that loop. We bring the hook right through it. We can go ahead and cinch it right on up. There's no slippage in that polymer knot, so we can cut the tag line extremely close. And then we just take our Senko and do a real simple Texas rig. I bring it right up the point, about to where it meets the bend, poke it out, or slide it all the way up the hook shank, cover the knot. We turn it and put that hook point right back through, and then we just kiss it under the skin of the worm like that. So that gives us a fully weedless setup. And the main reason, now normally when we fish Senkos, we fish them weightless. But the reason we put that little 1/32 ounce weight is because of these mats. It gives it just that slight head first dive so we can get it to shimmy and go down into these mats. My good friend Kevin Cianferri showed me that out here fishing. It was an unbelievable tactic that works very well. Otherwise, any other body of water, generally speaking, of course, we'd run a Senko completely weightless. You don't need to put weights to it. But out here, it just gives that little bit of a headward fall to get it to go right down into those weeds. Let's go see if we can get another one. Now when we're fishing these Senkos out here, it's a real slow presentation. I mean, we're casting it out and we're going to give it a long while to settle down to the bottom. Yeah, it's got to work its way through that grass, and it's not going to be just a quick drop. We don't want to put a heavy weight on there where we're punching down into this stuff. We've tried it. We've tried it with various plastics, and these fish don't react to it that fast drop. They want that slow, subtle drop. So that's why we only do that 1/32 ounce weight and just let it slowly weave its way down. So many bass out here on Patterson on plastics, we actually catch what we call dead sticking, or basically that Senko's not even moving and it may be still for a good 30 seconds. But what we'll do, just quick little hop it up, let it fall right back down. We don't want to move too quick with it. It's a very finesse type application. Like I said, that's just how these bass on Patterson react to this stuff. Very slow. And being that we got that Cinco Texas rigged, we can go right through a lot of this stuff. We're not going to hang up too often. I do recommend going with a fully rigged worm rig or setup rod and reel. Basically, this is my 7.6 medium heavy. We're actually running mono. We don't really have to go to a fluorocarbon out here on Patterson, but we're running 12-pound mono, and then a decent reel like the Johnny Morris from Bass Pro Shops. I can pick up line quickly, all that slack line, and get a good hook set on these fish. So it'll be just enough to get them out of this heavy cover. Oop, just had one bump it. She dropped it. Come on back. Pitch right back in there, see if we can't catch that fish. And you can do one of two things. You'll be able to feel those fish pick up your plastic. You may feel that thunk. And a lot of times though, if they just kind of come up, suck it in, and you don't feel it, watch your line. You'll see your line twitch. Sometimes they'll grab it and just start swimming. You'll see your line start moving. So you have to pay close attention, because if you don't feel them and you see that line do something, that's a fish. Go ahead, reel down and set that hook. We don't want to give them too much time to where these fish will swallow a hook or anything along that lines. It's just gonna potentially do more damage. If we do have one that swallows it, we can cut the hook off, and the acids in that fish's mouth will actually dissolve the hook. It takes a little while, but it's just better if we can get them hooked right in the lips or the top of the mouth and be able to let these fish swim off nice and healthy without any worries. Boy, that one picked it up and just started running right at me with it. Oh, and she threw my Cinco on me. There we go. Not a big fish, but they can't all be giants, and they're all fun. Get her back in there. It just goes to show, I mean, how much this slight change of weather has really affected these fish. Very light pickup, hardly even felt that fish pick it up. Next thing I noticed, my line is sweeping towards me. Obviously, fish had it in her mouth, running right at me. But it's just a slight change in this weather has really got them very temperamental. But at least we can still catch them. Even if we have to finesse them like this, fish can still be caught out here on Patterson. Let's grab another Cinco and get right back to it. Somewhere in the midst of all that weeds, I see a mouth. Where are you at there, girl? There you are. You're in there. Whew. I'll tell you what, we went back to that spinnerbait. Our whole Cinco bite totally died. We fished a craw. That didn't work. And I said, sometimes you just got to start covering water again and try to find active fish. And thankfully that spinnerbait over the weed tops again, we're able to get that fish to go. And again, it's not the super thick mats like we usually have here at Patterson. As you can see, what's left on my spinnerbait here, there's a good amount of grass down there. Now when we're doing this and we're fishing this spinnerbait over the grass, I like using braided line. Number one, with single hooks on spinnerbaits, you get a better hook set with the braided line. And of course, I love that trailer hook that these Strike Kings have. And if you choose to run a different branded spinnerbait, you know, that doesn't come with a trailer hook, definitely add it. It helps increase those hookups on those short strikes. But what's nice with the braided line is we can throw it out. And with my polarized glasses, I can see some areas where there's some thicker stuff. and I can throw it right around that stuff. If I bump it, I can give it a quick pop. It'll blow those weeds off of there, and a lot of times the fish will eat. That's actually what happened on that fish there. Threw it out, saw I was going to come up on a clump, blasted through the clump, gave it a pause, boom, she ate it. So sometimes you just got to grind it out. Now, I've been fishing Lake Patterson here for almost 10 years, and I have never had days, never had many days like we're having today, where it is a fight for every bite. You know, if you look at the show we produced 2 years ago out here, it was just nonstop. And that's generally how Patterson is. But, I mean, look at this, how different the weather is right now with the fronts, mile-high skies. Hard to believe I'm saying I'm in a cold front wearing shorts and a t-shirt, but it is. Compared to the 90 and 100 degree stuff, we dropped down to the 80s, bluebird skies, no wind. It's a grind. It's going to happen. But you know what? You stick at it, you can still put fish in the boat. One of the biggest questions we get when it comes to Patterson, a few of our viewers have been out here fishing it and will shore fish it and have inquired about how we're getting the boats in and out of here. It's a very small ramp, you know, so don't let it fool you. My Ranger can fit in here just fine. I have friends of mine who have big deep V style boats as well that are 17, 18 feet long that can launch no problem. The ramp looks a little gnarly, but they've actually done some repair to it, so it's a little better. There is no piers here, so you're basically going to have to beach the boat. Thankfully, it's a good mix of sand and mud out there, so you don't have to worry about scratching up your hulls. But it's real easy getting the boat in and out. Electric motor only, can't use the outboard, but I'll tell you what, this lake is worth it. Well, hey everybody, that's about all the time we have for this week. My goodness, what a tough day on the water. Only boated 4 fish or so, had a couple swings and misses on the Cinco, had a fish or two swing and bulge up on a spinnerbait, but just couldn't connect. Just a tough day, but I'll tell you what, it's gonna happen. There's days like this, and we like to show days like this. You know, some shows will go out and actually pound the water for 3-4 days to get one good show. But due to our filming schedules, we can't always do that. So we want to always show you the good and the bad. But even on the bad, fish can still be caught. So we hope we taught you guys and girls a little something. Once again, my name's Tony Krizek, and we can't wait to see you next week on Tony's Spot On Fishing.